Well, hello there. Oh, some things to discuss. One, I didn't realize that when people do watch the live stream, it doesn't start them at the beginning. So I've been getting frustrated where I have to repeat myself. It's not the person's fault. They're just tuning in mid-video. And so they didn't know I already answered that question. I'm really disappointed with how badly people comprehended the testosterone-only video. One guy was really mad that I was advocating 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. He missed the entire fucking point of the video, which is I don't like running super high test because then you have to use a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. So he was arguing my point for me and then started insulting me. So, of course, he's blocked, so he won't see this. I'm sick of idiots who use Prop because Prop's stupid. Now, people might take offense to that because they think I'm talking about them. I don't know you exist. I don't know who the fuck you are. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I just don't like the fact that I have to answer the same fucking question every goddamn day. In fact, I'm going to do this. Let's do present, share screen. All right. Let's start a new tab. This is going to be steroidblotter.com. All right, here it is. Oh, here it is. I can just do it here. 12 weeks. I don't give a fuck about that. Dose. Let's say you're doing 20 milligrams a day. Compound type. Anabolic steroids. All right. Select compound. Testosterone. Select type. Propionate. Every 3 days. Plot. So, can everyone see how fucking retarded this is? That this is the top. It gets you up to 545. And then, like, the next day, you're down to 189. And then you go over here and you sip. Let's plot this. Well, that looks a lot better now, doesn't it? You've got way more area under the curve here. Your peak is 250 and your trial is 246. There's almost no change when you do that. Now let's change it from every 3 days to every day. Plot. Boom. Look how smooth that is. How fucking dumb do you have to be to use Prop? That's fucking imbecilic. Okay, we're not done here. So this is everyday injections with SIP. Look how smooth and wonderful that is. Now let's do, they're like, but propionate. It's like, okay, porky pig. Boom. Look at that shit. Looks like shit. Looks like garbage. So it goes up to 1,000. And then with SIP, plot. All right, well, it's much lower. It's at 800, but it's stable. With this, and you got to remember that the propionate is a higher total amount, that it's 70% testosterone with SIP. It's like 90 or 85% with Prop. So you would just adjust the dose, but you see how unstable it is? Most people are going to like, that looks good enough for me, man. But like, what's the advantage of having it be like this? Well, they're like, well, you could have 1,000 rather than 800. And it's like, yeah, but you just use more. The money, it's 800. All right. So I'm going to go back though, because the big contention is people use Prop and then don't do every day. So you got 3 times per week, every 3 days. Boom. It looks that bad. And then you switch it to SIP and do it every day. That's how shitty it looks. So this is where the side effects are. If the difference between the trial and the peak, that's what causes side effects. Boom. SIP every day. All right, let's get to the questions. Doc, your thoughts on the carnivore diet? I don't really have any thoughts about the carnivore diet. You can't grow muscle really without carbohydrates. So I could understand carnivore diet's just a keto diet without vegetables. It's kind of dumb. Now, whether it works for Michaela Peterson because she's got some autoimmune disorders, I'm glad it works for her. I'm glad it works for Jordan Peterson. But if you're not unhealthy, I don't see a point to it, especially if trying to grow muscle. That was my buddy Nicholas. Bryson Stafford asks, yo, Dr. Todd Lee, I'm with you. Fuck Prope. Too short. Yes. Good evening, Todd. What are your thoughts about supplementing zinc without having a proven deficiency? Everybody who works with me is on zinc at bedtime. That's just standard. Nashema from above. Is that an Indian, like a Hindu thing? I love learning about other cultures. I just had a meal. Todd, can I drink sparkling water and still fight as a Viking? I mean, you can. I mean, I don't see the point. Most older cultures, they used beer and wine as a drink because the fermentation kills other bacteria and life forms. There is no way to have clean water. Enaphthate AD shots work every day. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a big difference between enaphthate and sip. It looks like sip's just smoother. Could you make this a video and show some difference between TRT 1 time a week and EOD so I can show other people? People are too dumb to understand the curvature. All right, I'll go and I'll show you 1 time a week right now. What the fuck just happened? Here it goes. Okay, so this is every day with test and enaphthate. We're going to change it to sip. Usually everyone except for, I mean, you can't even get a script for Prope. So I don't know how these stupid fucks are getting Prope, except for they think they're bodybuilders. All right. And there is a case for it on contest prep. But you saw how shitty it looked. So this is sip every day versus every 7 days. That looks way worse. So your peak is, why did it jump in? Oh, it's 20 milligrams. Okay, so I'd have to compare it differently. Hold on. This would be 140 every 7 days plot. So it gets up to 800, 870, and it comes down to 679. So it's all over the place. Right? So this is 140 every 7 days. And this would be, oh, that, so it went from so it goes from 800, it never changes. It just stays pretty much 800 all the time. Every day with sip. Now, a lot of you are going to say, but Todd, look how long it takes to get up there. So I'm going to show you how to do a loading dose. Loading doses are really easy. So right now I want you to look. This is at, we want to get up to 800, right? So what you would do is if you wanted to load this and you wanted to get up to steady state concentration, you go double dose for 8 days. So we go 40 for 8 days, then we go back down to 20, and then we'd be able to crank up to our dose of 800 within 8 days, rather than it taking 5 weeks, which is 35 days. So that's how you do it. You do double dose for 1 week. Now, if we want to talk about like big boy numbers, let's say we're going to do 200 every day plot. So we get up to like 8,000 total testosterone, right? Within about 5 weeks. But we hit 4,000 testosterone in 7 days, right? Okay. So let's say we did 100 every day. We get up to 4,000 in about 5 weeks. So if we wanted to use a dose that was 100 a day, which is 700 a week, the right way to do it, if you didn't, testosterone's a bad example because you're going to get way more DHT and estrogen conversion, get way more side effects. This is more something you do with like Primo or Masteron because they don't really convert into anything else. They're an end stage hormone. But if you wanted to get your dose up quick, you could go double dose for 8 days and then switch back to your normal dose. What you really wanted to be at steady state concentration. Most people will still struggle with understanding this. I can't make it any simpler. Okay, next. Oh shit. Getting away with me. Gaming in French. I know this guy. He's been commenting a lot lately. Hey, Todd. How do you determine that 10 milligrams a day was enough to get the thermogenic effect from Tren? I didn't. It was 5 milligrams a day. At first, I learned it from John Jewett. Then Steve repeated it. And it's not for the thermogenic effect. It's for the anti-catabolic effect. Blurry. For guys on TRT with low SHBG, like 9, does it matter if your free testosterone doesn't matter. No. Just forget about free testosterone. It isn't a measurement. It's a calculation made from your SHBG. And when your body sees that you've got a lot of test, it just cuts down on your SHBG. Just forget about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's no point in tracking your free testosterone. Have you listened to Count Your Blessings album of Behemoth? You won't like their new stuff, but the album cemented in my head. No, I don't really like their new stuff. You're right. The one that he did after cancer about 10 years ago, I think it's Aura. The one that's got like, I can't even say the song names on it because it's so offensive. But to me, the best album was like, Oh My God. I guess I can say that. Capping free tea. I don't really know what the point of free tea is. Graph isn't shown on screen. I think it is now because, oh shit, you're right. God, I feel so stupid. All right, hold on. Let me go back. So this was the loading dose thing. All right, so this is, you're doing 100 milligrams a day a test. Well, let me show you with the original. God, now I feel like an idiot. All right. See how I talk to myself? I call myself stupid and idiot all the time. So hopefully when I say people are fucking dumb if they do this, I talk to myself that way. That's just how I talk. All right, so it takes 5 weeks. It takes 5 weeks to get up to an 800 testosterone if you do daily doses with 20 milligrams. So if you want to get up to your steady state faster, you would do 40 every day, and you get up to 800 within 1 week. Now, what most people are tempted to do is just keep using 40, but then that's going to get them all the way up to 1600. And I do have to say, most of my patients, they're getting 1600 from 20. This is just an estimate. This is here for not absolute values. This is here for relative use. What do these lines do? View in full screen, download image. I want to download an image. Ooh, I could really do some damage with this shit. This would ruin lives. Oh boy. Let me, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to have Josiah do it because I don't know how to convert this stuff into other media formats. And he's smarter than me when it comes to computers. Those wily, he's almost Gen Z. Yeah. He's like on the verge of Gen Z. I think almost everyone who's worked with me on this project in the past 2 years was barely a millennial, or they were just straight up Gen Z. All right. So as you can see, I'm digressing a lot. I'm going to get up to 800 within about 8 days. And then I would switch back to plot. And then we're getting 800 from then on. So basically, we're just making this an S shape. We're getting the benefits of Prop that we're loading quick. And then people are going to be like, well, can you use Prop to start and then switch? No, it's not going to look right. You're going to get a big spike up here And then when you switch, it's going to cut down, and then you're going to pick it up again. And it's going to be a total mess. You're better off just doing, if you want faster kicking in shit, then you just use a loading dose of double. Now, again, I wouldn't do that with testosterone because testosterone has so many things it converts into. For reference, go back to the testosterone only video. I explain how toxic testosterone is, and that really makes people so mad. I had one guy that was so mad. He was like, Stephen Kinzel and Patrick Tour, they do it different than you. Why do you think you're smarter than them? It's like, motherfucker, I'm not coaching Olympians here. I'm talking to people who are HRT people or people who are at lower levels of the bodybuilding community. And that I'm also, as a doctor, I took an oath to do no harm. So I'm not going to promote the drugs that hurt you the most, because coaching in general is about winning, not about patient health. Now, I'm not saying that there's coaches who don't care about your health, but the priority is winning first, health second. I'm almost everyone who hires me, they're health first, winning second. So I take the approach where I'd rather you were healthy for 30 years rather than you won for 2 or 3 years, then died like Dallas McCarver. That the goal is to use the healthiest way possible and use the least toxic compounds. Find the drug that hurts you the least and use that. Don't use the drugs that are more powerful, because as you can see from this chart, you can always just increase the dose. Like, let's switch it to Masteron. Let's give you an idea. Masteron. Masteron. Select type. Anaphate. Let's do a reasonable amount. Let's do 100 a day. Plot. So we're at 6K. So we will get less side effects from 6,000 Masteron in the blood or 7,000 Masteron in blood than you would from like 1,000 testosterone. That you could run this much Masteron, and if we ran 700 Masteron and Anaphate versus, let's say, 50 milligrams of, I don't like testosterone, SIP, and we're at like 2,000, you will probably get more side effects if you go over this 50 test. You'll probably get more side effects from 50 test than from 100 mast. Having your total test at 2,000 is going to give you more side effects than having a total Masteron of 7,000. That's why I'm suggesting instead you would use like 30. Can we do poly? Can we add in 2 compounds? Can we add in extra compound? What's compare to? Compare. Okay, so this is 30 milligrams a test. Add another compound. We're going to do 100 compound type, anabolic steroid, compound, Masteron, and select type, anaphate, and then plot. Oh, wait, hold on. And I'm not sharing it every day. All right, here. So here's so this is your testosterone at 30 milligrams a day. You're at about 1,000. You're almost at peak concentration here, right? You want to be around 1,500. So using their math, they're saying that we can get up to 40. All right, let's do it. I'm disagreeing with this. My patients tend to get maybe this is basically where my patients are in 20 milligrams a day. But here you go. It's 1,500. And then this is almost 7,000 for the Masteron. And you can see an anaphate is bumpy, whereas cypionate's smooth. So you're going to get, I don't know if you'll notice a difference. But if we switch this to Prop, now you're going to see a fucking difference for sure. Oh, no, we weren't doing this one. Prop. Because I know people that do this. They're like, I run Masteron Prop. So you got all this bumpiness, which probably wouldn't cause side effects with Masteron because there's no conversion to estrogen or DHT, but still, and then you got this little bit of testosterone underneath it. That's the base. So here's your base. This is like the foundation, and this is your house. This sits on top of the base. when you do it this way, since the purple area under the curve causes no side effects, and the blue under the area under the curve would potentially cause side effects, but not at this level. Now, if this got higher, that's where the estrogen and DHT side effects come, because the body's like, this is too much test, and starts converting it over from testosterone to DHT and estradiol. Whereas with this, it doesn't convert to anything. It just stays Masteron. So it can't really hurt you. Now, some people will be like, well, your HDL could go down. I think that your HDL will be more affected by this going higher than this being this high. So people are like, well, Masteron's weak. Well, how weak is it if we switch it from Prop to an athlete? It's now up to 7,000. It's twice as high as the Prop. So you see, by using an athlete rather than you're at a 7,000. How much weaker does it need to be? Like, what's the logic to it? How high do you have to get? So you're using more Masteron than test. Look how much more you get. Well, if it's weaker, what's the area under the curve here? It's probably like 4 times as much. This is 1,500 yards. It's over 4 times as much. So even if it's half as strong, it's still twice as strong as the test. Now, if we switch this around and we did, let's say, we're going to do, let's say 50. No, let's just do 60, an athlete a day, of 60 mast a day and 60 test a day. Plot this. You still have way more Masteron than you have testosterone, right? 60 and 60, test SIP, Masteron and athlete. So you're still, but now your test levels are over 2,000. You're probably going to get some gyno. You're probably going to get some hair loss at this point. There's no, you're not going to get any problems from this. So you could either do this 60 and 60 and have side effects from the blue and no side effects from the purple, or you could go and your combined total, I think that way was like 6,000 total between the two drugs added together. Whereas this, you're at like 7,000 and 700. You'd have no side effects like this. None. And then you'd have just same amount of anabolism. The combined total between this blue area under the curve and this purple area under the curve is the anabolism. But the side effect potential is the blue, not the purple. The total amount of potential DHT harm, I mean, not DHT, of HDL harm would be the combination of the two. That one side effect is true for Masteron, but it's not more for Masteron than it is for testosterone. So the total area of the curve doesn't matter. All right. I think I belabored this point enough. It probably just needs to be its own video. Some days my fasting sugar is 5.5 or 5.7. Other days it's 5. I fasting insulin on blood work through the year was 3.5. No, 3.5 fasting insulin is fine. All right, what about adding direct T3 over T4 when using Tren? Because T4 is a precursor that must convert to T3. Tren can impair this conversion, making T4 less effective. T3X fast. I don't know that this is true. I only know one guy who said that, and he's a pathological liar. So if you've got some proof that Tren prevents T4 from converting to T3, I'm all ears. Do you feel the same about Dro standalone Prop in combination? Yes. Again, Prop is fucking stupid. Man, you talk like a real person. That's why I like you so much. No BS. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Really, I think it would be good regular video to hit some different compounds and different case doses and stuff and make a regular video. Could be a game changer, and that's the info everyone needs to see. I mean, maybe he can cut some reels up from this, and I could do it again, but again, it's like I don't know how to give a presentation like this because I see it in my head. I don't know how anyone can't see this. It's so obvious. That's why I can't believe anyone's so fucking stupid. They use Prop, like this question here. Like, how on earth would it make a difference? Why would masked Prop be okay if Prop is shit? It's like, well, if I eat a shit sandwich on sourdough bread, is that okay? It's like, you can do whatever you want, princess, but you're still eating a shit sandwich. It doesn't matter what bread it's on. Thoughts on someone that's been obese since childhood and lost a lot of weight as an adult? Well, you're going to have more fat cells, so you're going to have a harder time keeping your leptin levels up. So as you deplete those fat cells, more ghrelin, so you're going to have more hunger signaling in general. There will be exceptions. I don't need to hear everyone sound off about how they don't fit the stereotype. I don't care. Left with severe gyno and loose skin in the midsection. I don't know what etching means. Just cut all the fat and skin off with surgery. We can't see. Okay. Hey, Dr. Todd, what are the negatives of people injecting the same muscle groups for decades and switching between 60? Nothing. If they're using insulin needles, there's no difference. Hey, brother, loud. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Could adding Primo mitigate the issues you have with testosterone? Yeah, the Primo will mitigate the estrogen issues. It won't mitigate the DHT or the aldosterone issues. Watch the video I did on test only. I go over it extremely clearly. Do you think the protocol can win a pro card? What protocol? I mean, I won my pro card with nothing but nandrolone and Winstrol and Tren. Yeah, it was Tren and Winstrol is what I used to win my pro card. Didn't use any test for I don't think I used any test for 2 years before my pro card. Do you get a script for Prop? Transcend, I don't really give a fuck, man. Fuck everyone who uses Prop. Fuck them in the ass with a red hot poker. Unless they're a professional bodybuilder competing, then there's no reason to use Prop. What top 3 exercises you're making for upper chest development? Can you add you preferred sets rep tempo? I like incline Smith press. If you can find a good converging arm press, do that. But I get better results with the incline Smith press and incline dumbbell press. I think if it hurts your joints, it's too heavy, you want to use more reps. Basically, Israel on RP's Instagram page just put up a good picture about this. It depends on what your training age and experience is as to what your preferred sets rep is. You know, you're clearly very new to this channel and you haven't followed any of my information on training, but the tempo should be slow enough that you can control it and stop. If someone said red light, you could just stop mid rep. So maybe 2-second eccentric with a pause in the stretch position, explode up through the concentric phase. And then if you can squeeze your chest at the top, do that. Usually with presses, you can't squeeze the chest. Sets, you want to do enough sets so that you're just barely sore the very next day, but you're ready to go again 48 hours later. And you should hit the chest every 72 hours or so. As far as reps, again, the effective rep range is supposedly between 5 and 30, although it's very exhausting emotionally to go over 15 reps, especially for compounds. So I would say somewhere between 10 to 12 for older guys, probably anywhere from 6 to 10 for younger guys. If we don't plan to compete, is it better to cut to around 8 to 10% body fat and maintain around that body fat gain lean doing the old school way of getting to 8? Then no, you should watch my video about bulking is dead. You should never bulk. Bulking is for losers. Bulking and prop is for losers. You basically would cut down to 8 to 10 like you said and just stay there following the instructions in the bulking is dead or the bulking autopsy video that was just released. Also, what exercise can transform your side delt development? Lateral machine. All right, Todd has flattened the curb. All right. What up, Todd? I just got gyno surgery this morning. How long was your recovery of the surgery? What were you back? Okay, that was faster than the hair transplant surgery. I would say the gyno surgery, the day you saw me in the gym in Columbus was exactly 2 weeks afterward, and I lifted just fine that day. That was my first day back lifting. So I would say you could wait 2 weeks and then take it easy and do like fluff and buff workouts for another week or two, and then you'll be ready to go after that. I would stay away from heavy benching. Like I was trying to keep up with Paul on benching, and it was my first set in 2 weeks, and I did like 3.5 plates on that machine for like 7 or so reps, which was stupid. I didn't even do any warm-up sets, and I was fine. But I'm not advocating that, but that's just it's grossly over addressed the risk of injury post gyno surgery. What do you recommend for some weak, strong quads, hams, but extremely underdeveloped glutes? Well, if you want to bring up your glutes, then I would say barbell back squat and traditional deadlift. So basically, do everything wrong. So when I say powerlifting exercises are stupid in bodybuilding, the reason is because they predominantly focus on glutes rather than hamstrings or quads. So do those. So do powerlifting exercises and do bikini or wellness girl exercises. That'll bring up your glutes faster than your hamstrings and quads. If we were fat in the past, around 35%, and we acquired a lot of fat cells, what do you think about freezing fat cells to reduce the amount of fat cells? I don't know anything about that cold laser shit. I'm sure that there's plenty of ways to reduce the amount of fat cells you have. But I don't know what they are. You know, I don't know. I guess look into cold lasers or whatever. You know as much as I do about that shit. I did watch a video with Scientific Snitch. It's why I asked the doctor. Okay, so let me go back to your question then. All right. So you said if we don't plan to compete, is it better to cut down around 8 to 10%? Yes. Body fat and maintain around that body fat to gain lean? Yes. Oh, you said versus doing old school way of getting to 8 and then lean bulk to 2, then cut again. Yes, the old way is a dumb way. The reason why bodybuilders do that is because they have to get on stage again in 8 to 12 months. So they don't have a lot of time to fuck around. But if you're not a competitive bodybuilder, there's no reason to do the bulk shred thing or mini cuts. Now, some people will say, yeah, you do need a mini cut because you're not hungry anymore. That's fine. That's different. That bodybuilding is an art, not a science. People want it to be a science. You get a bunch of computer people using their computers to learn about how to do bodybuilding. They don't understand that it is an art. It isn't a science. There's too many moving parts to give someone a cookie cutter prescription to follow and get consistent, reproducible results. Okay, cool. That's what I remembered. Thanks, man. All right, cool. Well, we're all caught up. Appreciate you. Appreciate you too, buddy. Now, obviously, if Tommy wanted to use Prop before he got on stage, if his philosophy was, I don't want any estrogen on stage, so I'm going to switch to Prop 8 weeks out and then pull my Prop 3 days out from the show because he has consistently found he looks better on 0 test when he competes. That is a different story, and that is why people use test, mast, and Prop, test Prop, mast Prop, and Tren Ace the last few weeks before a show. The vast majority of the people who use this channel are not talking about that. They're talking about using Prop for HRT, apparently from Transcend, which are the reputation of having the worst reputation of all HRT clinics in the world. Then I would that's what I'm talking about. Like, just don't do dumb shit. Tommy's a actual bodybuilder and a coach. So if he's using that tool, it's an appropriate tool when he uses it. I once knew a guy who shot himself with a nail gun 13 times. Not on the same occasion. 13 separate occasions he shot himself with a nail gun. Not just any nail gun. The hot glue on the tip nail guns so that every nail had to be surgically removed. At some point, You'd think the guy would learn, don't drink when you're doing construction, or don't use permanent nails. Use nails you can pull out yourself. That's the level of questions I get from people who call me for consults about their health. It's like the guy who shoots himself with a nail gun 13 times. I don't think Tommy would ever shoot himself with a nail gun. That's why if he's using Prop, it might be appropriate. He's a real bodybuilder. Here's a picture of him on stage bodybuilding. This is what a bodybuilder looks like. If you don't look like this, if you don't get on stage, if you don't have a number on your hip, you are not a bodybuilder. There's no reason to ever use Prop. Your take on T-Ball over Anavar. I would never. That T-Ball, if you watch the T-Ball video, I addressed that T-Ball is pretty much almost like a purely anabolic oral. Anavar is a completely different animal. I compare them in the video. I also compare them in the steroid tier list video. Check out those videos. I'm not going to be able to remember exactly how to phrase it correctly, and I don't want to be held accountable if I misspeak. If you could have only 2 carb and 2 protein sources, what would you choose? I would choose rice. So can I say rice, or do I have to say the specific type of rice? I would say rice and potato, and I would say chicken and red meat. That's really broad, right? Because that's actually like 30 different choices. But what I eat is instant white mashed potatoes from Walmart, and I eat Walmart brand frozen chicken tenderloins almost all the time. I also have 1 Walmart extra lean beef meal a day, and I have rice cakes with canned tuna. That's what I'm cutting. And right now I'm in a mini cut. Should T3 be taken with no other supplements or powders similar to T4? I don't think you have to worry about that. My understanding is that the T3 isn't as finicky as the T4. That's why I have people using liquid T4, is so that you don't have to dick around with that shit. Plus, a lot of that T4 stuff is based off of dumb people. They're not based off of like bodybuilders or even bodybuilder adjacent or people who identify as bodybuilders. They're just fat women who just don't drink any water. Like it's been proven if you take your T4 and then drink water, then you're fine. That they're like literally just, they put cream and sugar in coffee, drink coffee with their T4, and it doesn't work as good. I guess because the cream sticks to the pill and prevents it from getting dissolved by the acid or some shit. Stuff you would never run into as a bodybuilder. What are my current rack rows at the moment? It's 350 protein, 300 carbs, 75 fat on my base day. And then on my high carb day, I think it's 370 protein, 400 carbs, and 70 fat. Brian Zappella, is injecting pec safe generally? It depends how much pec you have. I can inject my pec. I usually have a 1/2 inch slim pin on delts. Would that be deep enough for the pec? It depends on how much pec you have. But yes, there's nothing magical about the pecs that's going to hurt you. What's the best core exercise for abdominal development and time the waist? Ab roller. Instant mashed potatoes is actually brilliant. Never heard that. I will definitely try it. Yeah, basically what you do is you take a cup of water in a bowl, stick it in the microwave for 2 minutes, pull it out. You sprinkle in the flakes, basically between 30 grams and 45 grams worth of flakes gives you between about 22 and 35 grams worth of carbs. And then I mix in sea salt and peas and carrots. And then that becomes a paste. And you can basically blunt anything with that. And it's way more filling, way more satiating than the rice, and it absorbs just as fast. 3 months into a bulk, taking 150 micrograms of T4, 25 of T3, okay, good. 200 micrograms of selenium, good. I use iodized salt, good. 6 units GU, good. GH, good. Experiencing hair shedding, okay. That shouldn't be from that. Results fasted before meds. Well, you only got blood work on the TSH. Who gives a fuck about TSH? You're taking T4 and T3. Your doctor's an idiot. Fire him. Hire me. As far as the hair shedding, that's completely unrelated. I mean, you might be having a T3 of like 11 or something. That might be why you're having the hair shedding. Sean Dahl, what's the healthy body fat percentage to maintain where you can still see all of your abs? I would say no, it's pretty much the same for everyone. 6 to 10% is completely healthy. Oh, here we go. Free is 3.3. Okay, that's not so high. T4 is 14. Holy shit. Oh, that's not free T4. Okay, that's just regular T4. I don't think you have to worry about your thyroid at all. All that matters is that you're 3.3 free T3. I would just leave it the fuck alone, man. Everything looks good. I would say, like, if you're on test, the test is probably why you're losing your hair. Have you heard about Chinese supplier of steroid raws warning of shortages to come because of government crackdowns? No, I haven't heard that. I guess. Oh, well, I guess it means I'm going to have to start prescribing myself normal testosterone. I'll probably order a couple 100 bottles of other drugs then, just so I have my own personal supply. Test 250 milligrams a week as with an AI. All right, is this a different person? No, this is a new person. Is this a girl? The picture's a girl. Test 250 a week with an AI versus test 250 with Masteron. Masteron's not an AI. So this is not an intelligent question. If your question is, if you think Masteron's an AI, you're wrong. Primo is an AI. So I would say in that case, I would rather a man uses 250 milligrams of test with 250 milligrams of Primo instead of the AI. Now, you shouldn't need an AI for 250 milligrams of test a week. That's extremely low dose. So, I mean, it's just kind of a nonsense question. It's like, would you make a sandwich out of an orange and coffee, or would you make a sandwich out of a bread and meat? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. All right. Is the stomach abs protruding directly under your chest genetic? I can't recall if my stomach out this much when I was younger. Oh, not but in random individuals. No, it's just because you probably have bad midsection control or a swollen liver or visceral fat. So you would want to get what's it called? A DEXA scan to see if you have visceral fat. Also, you need to work on your vacuums. Great work, Doc. What do you think about 10 milligrams of Anabolic pre-workout and heavy lift days? What does it really affect the CNS, as Dr. Connor says in his harm reduction measure? I don't know who Dr. Connor is. If you mean Thomas O'Connor, I know who that is. But I would say, yeah, if you want a strength boost pre-workout, 10 to 20 milligrams of Anavar sublingual pre-workout does work. I don't know about it really affecting the CNS. I guess it depends how you define the CNS. The goal isn't that it affects the CNS, that it affects the neuromuscular junction. But maybe I'm wrong. But it does make you stronger. Dude, you're a vampire. Yeah. Hope all is well, brother. It is, bro. It is. I heard Roger Chavez, Mike is a PD coach. Actually, I think Mike is currently using Joe from Physique Collective, who both Chavez and Joe are big Masteron as a primary agent advocates, say there's no need for daily injections because plasma levels get saturated even with a once per week. Well, I just showed you the graph. So either you're mentally handicapped or you're just stubborn as fuck, because who cares what somebody says? I just showed you what it was. I believe unless you just tuned in here. I'll go over it again for the people that just tuned in. I keep forgetting that people are tuning in periodically. All right, so this is with an athlete, the purple, see that? And then this is with Prop, and then we're going to do, what was your exact question? Is there's no need for daily injections. Okay, so here's every week, every 7 days. We're going to do an athlete plot. So this is his way, where it looks like shit. And this is my way, where it's nice and smooth. So if anybody thinks they're the same thing, they're a complete fucking moron. And I know Broderick Chavez isn't a moron. So all these people quote Broderick Chavez to me. He's not a fucking moron, but he also says over and over again, he's not a doctor. He passes the buck. And that people overlook that he's not pretending to be the be all end all. He's just telling you his experience that he used to abuse drugs. And now he teaches other people how to mitigate the abuse of drugs. But as you can see right here, that's with it every day. And this is with every 7 days. It looks like total shit. That the difference between the top of the spike to the bottom of the spike causes side effects with testosterone. Masteron, it probably wouldn't. You just feel like garbage. But this looks like total dog shit. So fuck that. That's a retarded way of thinking. I believe there's shortages every single year around this time, from what I heard from Chase Irons. Well, there was the Chinese New Year, and they weren't shipping out from China for the Chinese New Year, but that's long past. It came early this year. And in the past 15 years, I've never had a shortage of anything. I've never had to go a day without. I like sandwiches. Italian sub for the win. How? How what? What was your question? How do you go and watch the appropriate video? You log out of this and you go look at the videos, click videos, and then scroll down until you see the title that you're looking for. It's O'Connor. All right. Love the most recent video. Okay, cool. First year enhance and self-coaching. Would it be better to err slightly on excess calories if trying to bulk, given learning to nail macros? Remember, bulking is for losers. Never use that word. You just say growing. But I disagree. I think you should just, if you watch the video about how bulking, the autopsy of bulking, and you have to ask that question, you didn't understand it, you should watch it again. A lot of people think that they should watch one of these videos once. And I've had guys tell me, I've watched the same video 6 times. Every time I find new information in it. And then they say it's because I don't have a lot of filler. I say every fucking sentence in a 2-hour video is important. And that I think people aren't used to densely packed information. They're used to densely packed TikToks, or they're used to long-winded bullshit college courses, which are impossible to sit through. But most of these people, when you watch a video and you have questions, you didn't watch it closely enough. Watch it again. All right. 3 IU prescribed HGH taken daily provides a 300 IGF-1 level. Estradiol is at 45. Is that decent, or is it better to be in the 400 range? So it depends. 300 is the upper limit of normal, healthy male. So this is a great combination for HRT. If you're trying to be anabolic and you're willing to take the risk of your feet, brow, nose, ears, dick growing, then you would use more GH. And people are going to get so mad, like, it doesn't make your dick bigger. It's like, it might make it slightly bigger. It's not reasonably bigger. It's not, but like my nose is definitely bigger than 10 years ago. My feet have went up 2 shoe sizes. So I know that it does make things bigger. All right. And now I'm going to go there. Just turned in. Yeah, sorry. Okay. No, it's not your fault, because I didn't realize that when people tune in, it doesn't let them scroll to the beginning and watch from the beginning. They have to watch right from when they join. And I've been getting on people about asking me redundant questions in the past. That's not their fault. And I wouldn't have said that had I known. And I forgot. That's why I re-showed it to you. Here we go. Here's Robert. Is taking as much GH as you can afford with regular HRT test, 30 milligrams a day, potentially a waste past a certain point? Yes. How can you tell? Yes. I forgot something with E2. Yes. So Forget about the H2. If you're taking 2 units of GH and you get X amount of IGF-1, then you take 4 units of GH and you get more IGF-1. And then you take more 6 units of GH and you get more IGF-1. And you take 8 units of GH and you get no more IGF-1, then 6, somewhere between 6 was your limit. Anything more than 6 is a waste. For growth, metabolism, GH does direct things to your metabolism. But for converting to IGF-1 for the anabolism, then you've hit your limit. So as much GH as you can afford is, if you watch the whole video, not just quote one sentence like they do with Trump, they're fine people on both sides, is what they like to quote, but they don't keep the preceding sentences, except for the Nazis and white supremacists. There were 4 nice people on both sides. They cut out the first sentence, then they splatter the second sentence all over the fucking place, and then dumb people on the left think that he's a racist. It's the same thing. As I didn't just say, use as much GH as you can afford, the more you know, and then run off like Skeletor. No, what I said was, you use as much GH as you can afford up to the point that you stop getting conversion into IGF-1, or you use as much GH as you can afford up to the point where you can't handle anymore. And then I clarify that it has to do with numb hands. Telmisartan. Can't see. I don't have a video on Telmisartan. Just take it. All right. Thanks, man. Yeah, explanation makes sense. I was just a little confused. Okay, so let me be a little bit less of a dick about this. So if you have high blood pressure, Telmisartan is the right blood pressure med for you. If you're using anabolics, it's almost precisely what you want to use to control blood pressure. And it also helps you with pumps. It also protects the kidneys, and it also fights against bloating. It basically does 6 or 7 different things. I gave you the 3 things I remember because I don't really give a fuck about the other ones. I'm already sold after the first 3. Oh, Chinese inspectors are this time of year. Inspector Gadget. Hold on, hold on for a second. One. Okay. All right. Well, let me take care of that. All right, cool. Not my problem. All right. How do you reduce inflammation from pinning in a certain area? Using a insulin pen. My glute muscles, you shouldn't be using glutes. You shouldn't be using those big ass harpoons. This is an insulin syringe. This is what you should be using every day. All right. I have learned something new every time I watch Meadows and Vigor Steve replays as well. Yeah. Meadows had all this stuff on lockdown years in advance. Dr. Todd, I watched your collaborative with Niall. It was sick. You and I are crazy strong. Really? Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Niall's insanely strong. His pull downs were fucking crazy. He was doing the whole stack of pull downs. I've never seen anything like it. I've read on Reddit that some TRT doctors are prescribing 100 milligrams test, SIP, and 25 Clomid 3 times a week. What's your opinion about this? I think it's stupid. Yeah, you just could use HCG. All right, what's going on here? I don't know. Your picture's cool, though. Is that like a goblin with a split personality? Do AAS increase heart rate? They shouldn't. When I take DECA, my base heart rate seems to increase by around 10 beats per minute. Does that happen with my any AAS? Well, DECA is AAS. And what do you think about take beta blockers to counter this? Beta blockers are stupid because it prevents your increased heart rate. You need your heart rate to increase. That don't use DECA or don't use anything that causes any side effects at all. Use the drugs that have no side effects like Masteron. My girlfriend on pics. Sorry, my English is not my first language. Okay. My question is, on top of my 250 tests a week, I would like to add something for hardening effect. Okay, so I don't understand the concept of hardening. If you want to get harder, lose fat. Nothing's going to make you harder. There's going to be things that are going to reduce your water retention, so you might look harder, but that's going to be at the expense of IGF-1 conversion. So the safest, cleanest thing you can do is add mast, and that will drive up the androgen load without driving up the estrogen or aldosterone load, so people report that they're harder. So I guess the safest, cleanest option to add to test is mast. I can't hear you texting, sorry. Well, why are you apologizing? Oh, what do you think about Rice Krispie treats for quick carbs? I think if you use too much insulin, Rice Krispie treats will pull you out of it, but I think that's too much sugar. I found that when I would use Rice Krispie treats, I wouldn't stop and I would just keep eating them. Running 6 days on, 1 day off, feel more fatigued in the last few days. Better go with 3 days with 3 on, 1 off, or reduce. Yeah, if you're talking about training, I would go 3 on, 1 off. That's a good rate. Have you seen Chris Beardsley's approach to training? Yeah, I've seen Paul Carter's rendition of it. That might work better for beginners, but as you get older, you get so strong that you can't do that. You'll get hurt. Your joints can't handle sets of 8. And if you ever watch Paul Carter lift, his form is pretty sloppy. His butt comes up off the seat, all types of shit. He's in control-ish, but his reps would look a lot better, and thus his body would look better if he used more reps, less weight. Now, their big thing is they try to control fatigue. Menmo just did a video about this that is basically like grow a pair and have some willpower. That there is no biological reason that fatigue is going to prevent you from recruiting those 2x fibers. It's that you just don't like it, and because you don't like it, you're not going to keep trying. So if they were motivated emotionally enough to try, then they would try. That you basically have your ego wrapped up in your strength. So sets of 6, 4 through 8, it's easy to concentrate and apply yourself for such a short amount of time. Also, Chris and Paul confabulate the fact that you have a decreased performance with a pump, that the decrease in performance is because of the pump. There's a correlation that basically as you fatigue the fibers, they will get pumped. And because they're fatigued, they're not able to have the same output. But it's not the pump that's causing the fatigue. The pump is the byproduct of the stimulation of the tissue. And the fatigue is also a correlated byproduct of the stimulated tissue. So just because you do a set of 15 and get an awesome pump, but you do a set of 8 and you don't get a pump, doesn't mean you're more fatigued with the set of 15 than the set of 8. It means you got better stimulation of the target tissue and not the tendons didn't do the load through elasticity. Now, I'm not saying you should do compound lifts in sets of 15 either. I think that a good place would be 8 to 12 reps for compound lifts, 10 to 15 reps for upper body isolation, probably 10 to 12 for lower body compound, and 12 to 17 for lower body compound isolation. Sorry. If you have 2 kids, how many will you name Masteron? I was going to name them something cooler than that. It depends on when they were born. I was basically like, if I had a kid that was born, if it was a girl and it was a Scorpio, I'd name her Elvira. And if it was a boy and it was a Scorpio, I'd name him Damien. And if I had a kid and it was an Aquarius, I would probably just drown it. That's when I would basically be pro choice, is if you have kids that are going to be Aquariuses. How do you measure body fat percentage? I look in the mirror and then I tell myself I'm fat and I have too much body fat. I'm guessing those scales in the gym aren't accurate. No, they're not accurate. And then you have to step on barefoot. Yeah, that's retarded. Do you know if type 1 diabetics can use HGH? Sure, of course they can. Is HCG also required to be shot daily? Everything's required to be shot daily. From my understanding, the doctors prescribe Clomid so that the pituitary gland doesn't atrophy, so there is a smoother recovery after cessation. No, they prescribe the Clomid because their little books tell them to. I mean, I get the concept, but okay, so just take the Clomid. Who am I? You're right. If you stimulate the pituitary gland, in theory, you would get more LH released. So, but here's the thing, and this is the thing that the doctors don't understand. If you're on HRT, you're on it for life. So it doesn't matter if the cells that make LH die or not. You're never going off of it. You wouldn't be on HRT if you didn't need it. Exactly what I was thinking. Thank you. Okay, Connor Logan, where were you? Have you heard of Chris? Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm glad that you followed my logic, because I thought I was walking into a trap, because a lot of people are very religious when it comes to their science, and they don't understand that science is about skepticism. Sith, I like the name. Should I expect any growth while running some? What the fuck? Should I expect any growth while running semaglutide and bumping test from 150 milligrams to 200 milligrams weekly, or will I only maintain muscle mass? Well, if you're in a 400 to 500 calorie deficit, you're not going to really grow any muscle, man. And I don't think a tiny bump to testosterone is going to make a difference. The difference between 20 milligrams a day and whatever that is going to be, 21 and 27 milligrams a day, or 22 and 27 milligrams a day, or 20, it's more like 28. It doesn't matter. We're talking about a minuscule amount of testosterone and a minuscule difference. Now, if you were going from 1,500 milligrams to 2,000 milligrams weekly, then you might see some water retention, but I wouldn't even think 500 milligrams. If you went from 200 milligrams a week to 2,000 milligrams a week, then I would say, yes, you could still grow while you're using in a 500 calorie deficit. Are behind the neck presses worth doing? Some people are very against it, but some aren't for it. So Israel does a video about this, and he explains it really well. He gets so angry that people say that shit like that. If you're able to do something pain-free and the line of force is matching the bones, I'll do it this way. So this is my maximum external rotation on this arm. This would be the most I can press, right? That's not behind my head. I can't externally rotate this arm enough to get behind my head. If you're able to externally rotate this arm enough towards behind your head, then you can press like that. But it doesn't offer you an advantage. Just use fucking dumbbells. Or use one of those machines. Like, there's a billion machines that replicate that. Better order for optimal amino distribution. M1, egg white. What the fuck? Meal 1, okay. Meal 1, egg white. Meal 2, chicken breast. Meal 3, egg during a workout. EAA during a workout. M4, post-workout isolate shake. M5, extra lean beef mince. I think this is great. I don't think I would change anything. I would switch meal 2 and meal 5. Yeah. Yeah, I would switch meal 2 and meal 5 because the post-workout isolate shake is going to spike, and then it's going to be out of your system in an hour, and then it might take 6 to 8 hours for meal 5 to hit the bloodstream. So you're going to be in a nutritional desert between meal 4 and meal 5 because meal 5 won't kick in until after you've eaten meal 6. Whereas if you eat meal 2, if you made meal 5 chicken, it would hit pretty fast. It would hit before you got to meal 6. A chicken breast would bridge the gap between meal 4 and meal 6. Everyone, this is one of the best questions I've ever been asked. I also appreciate people are asking a blend of questions about training, nutrition, not just gear. Like, what about SARMs? Do I really have to inject every day? We only had one everyday injection. We only had one SARM defender. And we only had one Prop defender. We haven't had any fucking SARM goblins in here. I've heard it has a cosmetic effect, but different opinions. Some people say they look smaller and flatter on it. I don't know what he's probably talking about Masteron because I know. Oh yeah, he's just talking about more of this shit talking about Masteron. All those people are fucking morons. They don't know what they're talking about. The reason why they say they're flatter is because they're not holding water. They're expecting the water retention from the test. Rob, if you watch the video testosterone only, you would know that. I wish the people who did these live chats would watch the videos because it'd be nice if people came to here with the foundation of knowledge so that where their questions would be good. But I do not consider this a good question. I think this is a terrible question because it's just repeating the same anti-Masteron rhetoric that I have to hear every fucking day. All right, what's your opinion on Test E more effective than Test C? All right, that's just made up by one liar who's not a doctor. He's not a scientist. He's some fashion person who just pretends to be someone who knows what they're talking about, and he doesn't. And basically what he's saying is that the Propionate ring so if my elbow is the testosterone ring and this is the hydrocarbon chain, that the anathate's just a straight line. And so he thinks that the enzyme that cleaves it cleaves like this and cleaves off each carbon and the hydrocarbon chain. And then with the CYP, there's a benzyl ring and it can't cleave this benzyl ring. What he doesn't understand is that's not how it works. The cleavage is always right here where the ester meets the ring. So with the fist, the ball, this might move around, so it's harder for it to fit inside the enzyme. But once it gets into its conformation, it will fit. So this will fit much faster. This won't fit like this. This won't fit like this. This won't fit like this. This won't fit like that. But it will fit straight on. And it just means that it's slower. And as we saw, this is something that he doesn't get and that you have the advantage of getting to see it with your own eyes. Let's just bring this to 0. Oh, I got to switch back over. All right, hold on. Plot. All right, so this is your SIP. Now I want you to look at how smooth this is. All right, and then we're going to go up to anathate. You see that that's slightly less smooth. That is the only difference between Propionate and anathate. Now I know what you're saying is like, well, maybe he's right and everyone else is wrong. Maybe he is, but don't get it twisted. He's a liar. He lies all the time. He lies about everything. So because he's been caught lying so many times, nothing he says is plausible. I disbelieve everything out of his mouth because I caught him lying so many times. Ronald Peck. I tested my pregnenolone levels and it was low, but only by a few points under the reference range. Should I worry and start supplementing soon? No, I don't know why you would. I don't know. I don't know. I guess you're like an HRT person who's coming into this space and you kind of have to take on the responsibility of being your own doctor and it's scary, but I don't think pregnenolone has any effect in males at all. But why even guess? Let's look it up. Hold on. I mean, it's a well, they're selling it, so obviously there's people who can take advantage of. Okay, is this showing even? Nope, it's not showing. Hold on. All right, how do I change my presentation? Present to screen. All right, here we go. Oh, fucking white background. This is bullshit. Steroid hormones are closely related to the endogenous circadian rhythm induced by sleep, wake, and dark light cycles. Shift work that disrupts the circadian rhythm may influence the levels of steroid hormones. The association between shift work and alterations in female sex hormones, blah, blah, blah. All participants were blah, 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 blah. All right, let's see. Does this even address what we're talking about? All right, is this even specific for pregnenolone? Yeah, this is not what we're looking for. This is about shift workers. All right. All right, pregnenolone. I give a fuck about shift workers. Eat a dick. All right. Here it is. Low pregnenolone levels in men can cause a variety of symptoms, including cognitive issues, poor memory, difficulty concentrating, reduced attention, fatigue, dry skin, joint pain, sexual issues. All right, so a bunch of vague bullshit that can't be proven or disproven. So everyone who reads is like, I have that. I've got poor memory. I've got difficulty concentrating. I've got reduced attention. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I'm fatigued. My skin's kind of dry. I just scratched it and it's white. It's like joint muscle pain. My muscles hurt all the time. I mean, of course I lift weights. As I decrease libido, erectile dysfunction. I mean, that could be due to, I don't know, anyone who has an ugly wife. I mean, that's going to happen. And then disorders, mood disorders. It's like, well, I'm blue sometimes. Maybe my pregnenolone's low. Then you get a test and you're like, oh my God, my pregnenolone's low. This will cure all my problems. And then you take it and nothing happens. So if you have these symptoms, you can try supplementing with it and see if it helps. But if you don't have these symptoms, then I don't think it really matters. What I don't ever do is I never take drugs to try to change how my brain works, because I'm just like, quit being a pussy and suck it up and tough it out. But that's because I'm older. That's just how my generation is. Gen X don't give a fuck. All right. I mean, how do you reduce visceral fat? I apologize. You lose fat. When you lose fat from everywhere. And then when you put muscle and fat on later, hopefully you're not doing it wrong, that insulin being high and androgens being high might drive it to visceral locations. What are your thoughts on how often TSH, free T4 and T3 should be monitored? Okay, particularly with consideration of how to adjust thyroid between cutting and growing phases. So here's the simplest answer. If you're going to be doing, I mean, especially as a woman, and unlike the other dude who had a picture of a girl but was a dude, and not trans, like he literally said it was his girlfriend's picture. I'm surprised that there's a girl in here. Hi, girl. Hi, Sophie. I said some rude ass shit today, and I feel bad that I probably insulted you. But whatever your thoughts. Okay, so back to after I'm done apologizing and being embarrassed, and you can see I'm red. I don't ever expect there to be a girl in here, but with consideration of how to adjust thyroid dosing between cutting and growing phases. Because with women, it's so fragile that the thyroid responds to everything, and your calorie shifts are dramatic. Even if they're not, it's still such a huge percentage of your total daily calories that often once a woman needs to go on thyroid medicine and they have a dose that works for them, you just stay there. And you just stay there all the time. Now, I know that may not sound like the healthiest option. What you could do, what I would do is figure out what you need to be on when you're cutting. And that's what you go on when you start your prep, just so that it doesn't tank on you early. Stay on that. Maybe it's going to be 50 T4 and 12.5 T3. And then when you've returned post-show, after you reversed out of the diet, once you've pulled the clen, and if you're on VAR, the VAR, and once you've pulled the cardio, once you've taken everything else out, the last thing to take out is the thyroid stuff, and do it. You can basically pull it all at once because it should spring back if everything else is in order. The problem with that is a lot of women will gain back a lot of water and or fat, and then psychologically it's damaging. Then they don't proceed with the off season. They feel like they have to go on another cut. And so in my experience in the last 15 years of working with women for bikini competitions, it's just they're constantly cutting and their metabolism just gets ground into the ground. And I basically, way I've avoided this is I just don't use drugs with girls. They're too sensitive to the drugs. And so I've never used thyroid meds with women on prep. I know how to, and I use it I get a lot of overweight women as patients and I have to try to manage their health, and they never want to do it the hard way, which is just diet and exercise. They always want Ozempic. They always want thyroid meds. They always want to cheat. And they don't realize it's not just an honor thing or a stoicism thing, is that the reason why they have the problems with their thyroid is their hormonal disruption, and the hormonal disruption is due to the way that they're managing their nutrition and exercise. And that if their nutrition exercise were right, their thyroid would be fine. Now, you're in a completely different population. When someone's a competitive athlete, they're always going to have fucked up thyroid. They're always going to have fucked up estrogen. In which case, manually controlling that is pretty much the only way until they retire from the sport, which is not a very doctorly answer. It's just a pragmatic coach answer. Thoughts on SLU-PP? I don't know much about it. I know that it's supposed to be an estrogen agonist. I find it funny that all the guys who are basically like Primo have to use some estrogen agonist to make up for the fact that they crushed their estrogen on Primo. I know you're not a fan of SARMs. Have you ever looked over the blood work of anyone running something like, no, I don't have any teenagers for clients, and adult men don't use SARMs. Ray Mamo, any thoughts on Retatrutide? Nope. I don't dick around with the that stuff. I had a few people that were using semaglutide, but after it was causing gastroparesis in some people, I just stopped prescribing it to people. I was like, no, it's not worth the risk, because both of them were shitting blood and mucus and lying to me about it. Then they both came clean at the same time. I'm like, yep, no more Ozempic for you. All right. When you start every workout, is there a certain warm-up you do every time, such as walking, stretching? Yeah, I do. I do 10 minutes on the elliptical, and then I have different mobility stuff. If you watch my training videos, quite a few of them, especially the leg ones, have me doing my mobility stuff, my modified yoga stuff before I actually start lifting. So just watch my training videos on YouTube and you will see. Towards the end of certain training days, I'm fatigued as fuck. Any tips? I'm thinking maybe use an intra. Yeah, my intra battle mead will be back on the shelf within the month or so. And it's actually probably the only one that uses 10 grams of EAAs and 20 grams of HCBD. So I'm using the highest quality carb source you can do as an intra. A lot of them might say HCBD, but it's a mixture of HCBD and a bunch of cheaper stuff. HBCD, highly branched cluster dextrin. Then it also has glucose disposal agents to make sure that it goes where it's supposed to go, to your muscles. And it's got taurine to prevent you from cramping, creatine. It's got It's not Hydromax. It's the other one. The pre-workout has Hydromax. Glycer Pump. No, one of them has Glycer Pump. One of them has Hydromax. But the point is that it's got glycerol to give you a pump. The taurine, the creatine to prevent cramping and to give you a pump. And sea salt for electrolytes to prevent you from cramping. So that's the best thing you can do intra-workout to prevent being fatigued, is staying hydrated with water and electrolytes and then having energy. How to get the most chiseled face. I feel like TRT on any dose will never get my face as lean as I was natural. That's not true. Yeah, that's not true. Just take your test down and use something like Masteron that doesn't have an aldosterone effect. Back to gear. Do raw suppliers really sell Primo E as bold C? I don't know. I don't think so. I think in this day, if you want Primo, you get Primo. I've never heard of anybody faking shit. But to be fair, you couldn't, because Bolden owns a liquid and Primo is a wax. There'd be no way to trick anyone with that swap. I know how you feel about questions. That's why I asked one about the drugs, one about trading split, and one about nutrition. Thanks, Todd. Oh, thanks to you too. That was at 1:36. What fucking time is it? Hey, hey. Okay, that was only 14 minutes ago. All right. TR. I don't know what that means. Oh. Test C just has less total hormone than Test E because the cypionate ester is longer. Is it really, though? I think they're both 70. Oh. 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 It's a 401 molecular weight. It's 413. Okay. It's 70 for SIP, and it is 72 for an athlete. So it's a 2% difference. That doesn't change why the curve's like that. The curve wouldn't be sawtooth from a 2 milligram difference. So with 200 milligrams of test SIP, you're getting 140 milligrams of actual test. With 200 milligrams of test an athlete, you're getting 144 milligrams of actual test. That 2% difference ain't going to make a difference. I like the anime picture, though. Nick H. Work on oil rig 2 weeks, then home 4 weeks. Can only run gear at home. Nothing at all on the 2 weeks on the job. How should I plan a cycle? Yeah, you shouldn't do that. I guess take orals for the 2 weeks you're on the job. That there's oral long-acting testosterone. It's super expensive. Undecanoate. Also, there's orals that have an estrogen conversion. Or you could take an estrogen patch. So you could run orals with an estrogen patch while you're away for the 2 weeks. I just think get a different job. That job's not going to mix with bodybuilding, dude. All right, your favorite tricep exercises. I like single arm crossbody press down, like I say in the training videos. Just one arm at a time. That way I can get the angle just right to hit the long head. I know everyone's like, no, long head's up here. That may be what the science is, and I'll reproduce that data. I'll say, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You get the stretch in the long head up here. I don't feel shit in my long head. And I think, if anything, my long head's gotten smaller since I get the more scientific based I get, the smaller my arms are getting and the triceps. Sorry if that was answered before, but when was Battle Mead coming back? Battle Mead, the new batch of Battle Mead should be done soon. Right now, I'm tasting the flavor samples because I had to redo the formula to make it more modern, adding in the HCBDs or HBCDs and the essential aminos. And then I had to reflavor it, and then it's going to have new artwork. So it should be done soon. It's basically they're waiting for me to approve the flavor before they pull the trigger. And then it'll probably be 2 weeks after I do the flavors. Have you ever heard of anabolic potentiating an outbreak of shingles? No, but anything can cause the herpes that's in your, what is it? The nerve, the cell body. Basically, there's herpes simplex 7 that's a virus in your nerve cells in your spine. And so it can basically cause an outbreak along a dermatome. Started blast almost a month ago and had an outbreak of shingles all week. No, I mean, it could be correlated from stress, but there could be like maybe you're training harder, or you also started a cut, or maybe you told your wife that you're on steroids, so she's trying to make you really, really mad so that you flip out and yell at her, so then she can say, it's the steroids, you know. Have you noticed any prostate-specific effects on mass? Nope. I mean, I always frequently urinate. Are you against having fruit in your diet? Nope. I think downstream progesterone has effects on cognition. I guess so. So T3 has to be taken with ubiquinol, fish oil, and all other subs without absorption issues. Yep, to my knowledge. Is injectable L-carnitine useful if doing HIIT? Okay, so it's not a time-sensitive thing. It builds up in your system over weeks. So it doesn't matter when you take it. Taking 450 tests, 480 Masteron, libido disappeared pretty much, got worse and worse as weeks went on. Started taking 0.5 milligram of Arimidex last week on pin days, but not much difference, 3 days injection frequency. So your problem is you're doing injection frequency, and then your solution, like you're abusing test, and you're taking it really infrequently. If you just did your daily, if you did 60 milligrams of test a day and 60 milligrams of Masteron a day, you'd have much better results. And Arimidex is stupid because estrogen is what makes you have a sex drive. So there's no reason to take something that crushes your estrogen. Crushing your estrogen crushes your sex drive. Does T3 make sense on a mini cut? No, I wouldn't fuck with it. Stefan Kinzel said he's not a fan of diabetic drugs. Correct, he said that. I know Urs said he doesn't take like metformin a while ago. Your thoughts? I mean, here's the thing. If you don't need them, you don't take them. I'm pretty sure he said if someone's diabetic, they take them. And so if somebody, he runs his diet very well, so he's not going to make his athletes diabetic. Hani Rambod also doesn't use insulin. It's probably why their guys peak so well. If you watch my episode with Snitch about insulin, it's very clear that just like bulking is dumb, using insulin to bulk is dumb. The point is, if you don't bulk, you don't need the insulin. And insulin just makes you get fatter faster. So bulking plus insulin means you gain a lot of fat. Yeah. So Ronald, okay, so he said, thanks, Dr. Todd. Haha, I'm Generation Y. Yeah, I'm on HRT, bro, and it took a 27 essential vitamins and minerals test and just trying to focus on things that were low. So pregnenolone, to my understanding, it's just a precursor to other steroid hormones. So now I understand that some people believe that if you don't supplement with DHEA, your brain doesn't have enough, and so you'll have mood things. I never notice any of that shit. It's just people my age just accept that life sucks until you die. You're going to be miserable. So don't think about the things that aren't good in your life. Think about the things that are. So if I'm feeling like shit, I'll play music that I like, or I'll watch anime. Like, I don't think, what pill can I take to feel better and make my sadness go away? That's just like, to me, that's like a pussy way of dealing with problems. So I know what you're saying. It's like, but it's a chemical in your brain, blah, 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 blah. If you want to do it, try it. I just don't know that pregnenolone. I've never heard that pregnenolone makes a difference. No one's ever brought it up before. Would you say SARMs are just expensive orals with extremely limited research behind them? Yes. BS marketing team or something? Yes. What you just said right there is it. That the bottom line is, when pro hormones became illegal in 2014, SARMs hit the market. It's just people trying to rip off teenagers that live with their parents and are scared to use drugs. real steroids. So they're trying to sell them legal steroids, and then they're pretending that they're safer, but at an effective dose, they're not any safer. They're actually just almost less effective. So maybe there are good SARMs out there, but no SARM's going to be as good as Anavar, or, so why would you ever use anything other than Anavar? Like, and that's the part that people don't like, that they don't like the fact that one thing is better than all the rest. Just use the good thing. That test is the base. You need to have test. GH is amazing. You got to use GH. Masteron is the best injectable anabolic steroid. Anavar is the best oral steroid. There's no reason to use anything else. And then people are like, but it makes you grow so much muscle. They'll all make you grow muscle. Just some of them have side effects, some of them don't. Use the ones that don't have side effects. How's your SHBG on Masteron? All SHBG is in the toilet when people use injectable anything. It's been single digit for years. I've been using Masteron for 1 year. For the last 10 years, my SHBG has been single digits. SHBG has no bearing on anything. I heard Bold C is powder, even though, you might be right about that. You're right. It could be Bold C. Even if it was, the difference between Boldenone and EQ and Primo is almost nothing. Almost no difference between Boldenone and EQ. I mean, between Boldenone and Primo, that they're both aromatase inhibitors. They don't convert to DHT. They don't convert appreciably to estrogen. Some people say EQ does convert to estrogen, but because it's also converting to an aromatase inhibitor, the net result is that it's not converting to estrogen. It might convert to estrone, but that's so weak it doesn't make a difference. So there's almost no difference between Boldenone and Primo. It's just Primo's Gucci and Boldenone's Walmart brand. And if you're a real pro bodybuilder and you're running 2-3 grams, you're going to want something that's concentrated like 300 or 400 milligrams per milliliter, not something that's 100 milligrams per milliliter. It's too much shot volume. If GH raises blood sugar, why not inject Lantus at bad going? I don't agree that GH raises blood sugar. I think that's a myth. And I do inject Lantus at bedtime. Once you get your HRT dialed in, how long could you run Masteron alongside it? Forever. After dropping over 100 pounds, I got a Renuvian done to tighten my skin around a year ago. Although it helped a ton, of the skin is still loose. That sucks. I don't know what to tell you. How do you not get depressed if living in Michigan? Couldn't do a fucking living where it's cold and dark and barren half the year. I like cold, dark, and barren. I'm an introvert. I wake up at nighttime. I go to bed at dawn. I don't want to see anyone. I go to the gym that's the least busy when it's the least busy. I actually take Mondays off because it's busy. It makes me just feel uncomfortable to be around people. I don't talk to people unless they're patients. I don't have friends. I don't have a girlfriend. I have a dog. So I like it cold. I like it dark. I like it barren. What estrogen level do you find provides you with the best sexual function? You know what? For all the years that I had girlfriends, I had an estrogen in the single digits because I used to crush my estrogen. And I should still, some of those girls wanted it 4 or 5 times a day. I had no problem putting out. I just didn't give a shit. And then when my estrogen was 70 or 100, it didn't matter. It wasn't like some overwhelming sex drive. So I really I don't understand why people make such a big deal about it. I think it's all psychological, and they try to make it about hormones because women use hormones as an excuse for bad behavior. Men have bought into it, and so men also blame their hormones for their behavior. That I feel like if a girl's hot enough and she starts rubbing on you and licking you and stuff like that, your dick's going to get hard. And I know people are like, well, that's just because you don't know what it's like. It's like, you're right. I don't know what it's like because I've never had a problem with it, no matter how much drugs I take. When dialing in TRT, what are you looking for maximum tolerance, estrogen or free T? I'm never looking at free T. I'm looking at estrogen converting GH IGF-1. Don't give a fuck about free T. I'm using Masteron to grow muscle. I only use testosterone to generate estrogen. What's up, Todd? Have you found anything to help you with your insomnia? On days that I train, I sleep better. I'm taking Remelitron. I take, what's this called? Remelaton, 8 milligram Remelaton before bed. And then I usually do, if I can't sleep, I also listen to Warhammer 40K Sleep. I know it sounds weird. Why would you listen? It's basically some guy with a really soothing voice telling you about the history and the lore of Warhammer 40K. Like there's a 13-hour presentation on the different chapters. Then there's a different 13-hour presentation about the heretic chapters. And then there's a series of 39 hours discussing the Horus heresy. It's like I listen to that, and there's a sound of like war in the background. Instead of thunderstorms, it's just like violence. And it's just, I listen to that quietly. Of course, I've got all my other stuff, like my air purifier, my heater, my air conditioning unit, my CPAP machine. I put a pillowcase over my head to keep light out. I have the room regulated at exactly 68 degrees with a thermostat on the heater and the thermostat on the air conditioning unit set at that, so that they keep it exactly the same. It doesn't drift. And that's pretty much it. I try to go to bed before the sun comes up so the cortisol doesn't spike. I have 400 milligrams of magnesium, and I take 1,200 milligrams of ashwagandha before bed. I make sure that I have a good amount of carbs so it can help me sleep. Thanks for asking. You watch anime? Fuck yeah, I watch anime. I'm watching, what am I watching right now? I'm rewatching JoJo right now, and I'm also watching Arcane, but I'm like drip feeding the Arcane because I don't want to blow through it too fast. I just wrapped up Cyberpunk, and before that, I watched Dan to Dan recently. That was really good. But I think one of the best I've seen in a long time is Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon is probably one of the best anime I've seen in a really long fucking time. Doc, could you discuss PEG and MGA usage, please? No, I'm not getting into peptides. For the most part, there's two good peptides, GH, and if you need it, insulin. MT, if that's it for anabolics. You don't fuck around with anything else. As far as MT2 to get a tan before competing, and BPC 157 and TB 500 for healing. You don't need anything else. All the rest is bullshit. Preach. I just stationed North Dakota for 5 years and loved it because it was cold, dark, and few people. All right, I'll have to move there. I was stationed in Guam 5 years ago. Love living on the beach. You also get the dark, cloudy days since it's tropical, though. Kyle, what supplements do you recommend to add to optimize thyroid function in general? So 200 milligrams selenium, zinc, and iodine. Lugol's iodine solution. And it's the same stuff. Like, you just should be on that all the time. All right, guys, I have to pee and I have to get another meal in. I think we did almost 2 hours. All right, have a good one. May the force be with you.